Hey everyone. So I know that choosing colors and color palettes in Procreate can be frustrating at times. And there are times when we're just in artist block. We can't figure out what colors to use and what goes well together. Well, we are diving into some of my favorite iPad apps that I use when I need some inspiration for color palettes. They have been extremely helpful and can really get me out of a rut. Also, at the end of the video, we're going to be talking about how to get these palettes from the app into Procreate, my favorite way at least. So if you're wondering or need a refresher or a beginning point of like, I created this cool palette, how do I actually then use it in Procreate? We're going to go over that. All right, so the first app I actually want to talk about is called Color Tone. This is a really neat app. What it will do is it will pull colors from your images and it will make a palette from them. But there's a catch. While this app is really great, and as you can see, it created a neat color palette from this image I have here, Procreate will actually do this for you. So if you want to just stay in-house and Procreate, I have a video about how to make color palettes from images in Procreate, and I'll link to that up above on the cards and in the show notes. This app can be really great. It's called Color Tone if you want to have an app that you can do a little bit more with and play around with it more. But Procreate also does this as well. So I just wanted to make that clear. There are a few apps on the App Store that will do this, but Procreate does a nice job of it by itself. The next app I want to talk about, which is one of my favorites, is called Pocket Palette. And what this will do is it will create color palettes for you. So if you're in this Create tab, what you can do is click this little plus button. It will generate two colors for you. If you come then into the palette, you can click this little pencil here. You can click Edit Palette. And from there, you can switch around how the colors look if you weren't a fan of it. You also have this little plus button. So you can just add colors until you have enough colors that you like and until you feel like you're at a place where you have a really well-rounded palette. What I also really like about this app is that you can have the RGB codes, the HSB, and the hex codes. So if you're working in graphic design, you need those codes for Canva or for one of your Adobe programs or something like that, you have access to those, which is nice. If you click on the little eyeball here, you can have the whole palette there for you to see and to use. So the next one we're going to talk about is called Random. It's just called Random, but if you put random color palette, it will come up. What I like about this is if you need like a jumping off point and you want to have just a color in, like maybe you need just one color to set off the whole theme of your piece of work, click this little raindrop here down at the bottom and you can just get random color after random color. It's a really fun way to just discover new colors and new shades. It will give you the code so that way you are able to identify it later or in your graphic design programs. You can click the little heart and save them and start actually building a palette as well. So that's a really fun way to find just new inspiration and new random colors to use. So continuing on with the random theme, this one is called Paletify. Paletify, who knows? Cool name, cool app. So what it does is if you click these little dice up here, it will just randomly generate color palettes for you. I like that it gives you so many colors so that you can really, see what you like. You can just pick and choose individual colors or take the whole palette from there. Again, it gives you the different codes depending on what you need. You can save them, you can export them, does all the things you need with a good color palette. So last, certainly not least, this is one of my favorites. It is called Just Palette. So what I really like about this is sometimes you don't want a just completely random palette, but you want it to be within a certain vibe. And so what I like about this is if you click on these three little dots up here, you're given some options. So I can say, I want a warm tones palette. I want to make sure no matter what you give me, it's warm tones. And if I click on that again and again, it will give me different palettes within that warm tones family. You can do that with cold tones. What I especially love is the monochrome, because personally, I can get really confused by trying to pick colors within the same family that are not identical, but then are not too different. Beautiful. I love what the monochrome does. So this is a really beautiful app. It only gives you 4 colors, so that can be kind of a bummer depending on how many colors you need, but really a good amazing jumping off point to work from, depending on what you are looking for. Now we jumped back to Pocket Palette, and I'm going to show you how I personally will take a palette and put it into Procreate. Um, and there are a number of different methods. This is personally what I do. So if you're looking for a way to like have this beautiful palette into Procreate, here's what you do. What I do is I take a screenshot and I will make sure that that gets saved to my photos. I will then open Procreate on a new canvas. All right, so once I have that, I will then add the photo to my Procreate canvas by going into Actions and Insert a Photo. So I chose my color palette photo, and there it is now sitting on my screen. You want to deselect the transform tool so that that's not there. You're going to go into your color panel and you're going to click on New Palette. Just click Create New Palette. And then what you're going to do is just go through one by one, activate the eyedropper tool, and so that that color gets selected. And then in your color panel palette, you just click on one of the open squares and that will just drop that color into your color palette. So you just go through one by one. The reason why I like this is because even though it's a little bit more manual, like let's say I don't like that green there and I don't want it, I can just decide to not select it. I'm just going to skip it and I'm going to go down to this blue, right? So you can just go one by one until you have the entire color palette chosen. And then you can then just delete this image. So you can just clear the layer and you then have your color palette there. The image is gone and you are ready to work. So that is personally how I do it. There are many different ways of doing it. That is what's worked for me. Find what works for you. But hopefully one of those apps will work for you. There are so many amazing ways to find colors for your art. So I hope that was helpful. If you want a more in-depth look at finding color palettes, there's a really great color palette class for Procreate that's on Skillshare. I love Skillshare. I use it like crazy to improve my art skills. And I learned so much about color palettes from this class. So down in the show notes, there's an affiliate link for a free trial of Skillshare. So you can take that class absolutely free with their free trial. All right, if you liked this video, if it was helpful in any way, if you could please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, keep coming back to Adventures with Art for more art tips.